Have you ever noticed how the people who expect really good things to happen for them in their life tend to have really good things happen for them, and people who expect things to go poorly or not their way tend to have things in their life go poorly and not their way? What's this all about? Well, I heard Myron Golden say one time that expectation is a superpower. And in fact, I've also heard a billionaire say, you absolutely get your expectations. So how does this even work? In this video, I'm going to help you understand the truth about expectations, how they work, so that you can start leveraging this truth in your own life to improve literally every aspect of your life. But let me tell you a quick little story to get this thing started. So I remember back when I was really little, probably 10, 11, maybe 12 years old, I went on this fishing trip with my dad and a buddy and his dad. And right before the trip, leading up to it, we're driving to get on this charter to go deep sea fishing. And my buddy just kept saying to me, he's like, whoever asks the most questions is going to catch the biggest fish. And I was like, yeah. He just kept saying it. Whoever asks the most questions will catch the biggest fish. I don't know if you've ever been deep sea fishing, but we're trying to catch like grouper and zebrafish. And, some of it's probably going to be decent sized fish, but nothing too crazy. But as we're fishing throughout the day, my buddy just keeps asking the boat captain a ton of questions. Question after question about this fish and that fish and what do you do here? And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you're asking so many questions. And probably halfway through our time out there on the boat, he gets this really big fish on the line and is like fighting for a long, long time to get this thing up, and finally gets it up to the boat. And it's a 4-foot sand shark. We were not even fishing for sharks. And to us as 10, 11, 12-year-olds, whatever we were, that was like the coolest thing we ever could have seen. The coolest thing we ever could have caught. And so I tell you this because it's a perfect example of we get our expectations. He literally believed that if he asked the most questions, he would catch the biggest fish. Now, obviously this was not a fish, but he caught something incredibly cool. And for us on the ship, on the boat, that was way cooler than any other big fish he could have caught. It was a freaking shark. Are you kidding me? It was awesome. And so I really believe, I've had experience after experience in my life. One other quick one I'll share with you because I think it really brings this to light, which is several years ago, I was sitting at a lunch break in my very first job out of college, and I just started to get into speaking and want to speak into companies and organizations. And I thought to myself, who are organizations that I could speak to? Who would want to bring in a speaker, a motivational speaker like me, to talk to their group or their company or at their conference? And so the first thing that came to my head was real estate agents, because they work for larger organizations, but they're very entrepreneurial driven. And so they're the kind of people that want motivation to be their best, to make more sales. And I was like, there's some really big organizations that hire people to come and speak to their people, to their real estate agents. And I was like, what are a couple that come to my mind? And two that came to my mind were Century 21, because I had friends and family that worked at Century 21. The second one was a company called Remax. And so I started researching both of these two companies. There's all kinds of real estate organizations out there, but I happened to pick these two. And so I did about 15, 20 minutes of research, seeing what regional events and national conferences they had. And I did that for, again, 15 or 20 minutes, and I just put it away. I was like, okay, my next step is I'm going to look up who I might know who could bring me in to speak at one of these organizations. The very next day, I show up back to my office. My phone is face up on the table. I start to do some work, and all of a sudden my phone rings, and it says, Michael, a fraternity brother of mine who was a senior when I was a freshman, but I was a few years out of school at this point, and so it had been several years since he and I had our last conversation. I was like, this is really crazy. Why is Michael calling me? And so I pick up my phone. I'm like, hey, Michael, what's going on? And he's like, hey, JJ, great. And we catch up for a few seconds, but I'm like, I'm really curious. I'm like, why is he calling me? And I did not remember where he worked, but he said to me, hey, JJ, I've got a group of folks I'd love for you to come and speak to, because I see you're doing some speaking. I'd love for you to come and speak to these folks. I was like, man, where does this guy work? I don't remember. And then it hit me. And I was like, Michael, remind me, where do you work at? I'm getting chills telling you this story. And I go, Michael, where do you work at again? He goes, oh, I have a Remax office, and I've got 20 real estate agents that I'd love for you to come and speak to. And I was just like, you'll never believe it, maybe. But I literally just yesterday was looking up, how can I go and speak to real estate agents with Remax? And this is wild, and some people might not believe me, but this is literally what happened. And so I'm absolutely thoroughly convinced among these and other stories and examples, which I won't get into for the sake of actually getting into the content here of why this works. But man, I've just seen it over and over again in my life. I've seen it over and over again for other people in their lives. And you might say this is kind of woo-woo, but I really believe that what we expect we get, what we expect we experience. It truly is a superpower. So I want to make sure you understand what it is and how you can leverage it. So we've got two different kinds of people. This first kind of person expects really good things to happen. The second kind of person expects things to not go super well, or maybe things are working against them. And so the question becomes how do they expect very different things? How do they experience very different things? And it's really, really simple. This person sees the world through lenses that they expect great things to happen. This person sees the world through lenses where they expect things to not go well. And you might say, well, JJ, how does that have anything to do with actually what happens in reality? But the truth is, because this person who has the expectation, let's just say this person has ES, expectation superpower, and this person does not have expectation superpower, this person sees more of the possibilities. This person exudes an energy about expecting great things to happen. And so this person is someone that other people want to work with and help and support and do good things for. Because you see, when you're the kind of person that other people just genuinely want to help, then you're the kind of person that's going to have good things happen for you. And if you expect really great things to happen for you, you're just going to show up differently. Like, think about it this way. What's the attitude and energy that this person's going to exude into the world? The person with expectation superpower, what's this person going to exude in the world? Gratitude, positivity, hope, optimism, passion, aliveness, and excitement for growth and the possibilities of life. You want to be around that person. So do I. And so if you're the kind of person that exudes that kind of energy, then you will absolutely become a magnet for great opportunities. And what's this person do? This person exudes a negative energy. This person has a poor attitude. And it might sound so simplistic, but sometimes success is simplistic. It's simple, but people aren't willing to do the simple stuff consistently for a long enough period of time to actually experience what happens when you leverage the really simple stuff. And so if this person has a poor attitude because this person believes that the world's against them and bad things are happening and the world is going to heck and like just nothing good's going to happen for them, they tend to not get good things to happen for them. And it's sad because it does not have to be this way. You could be the kind of person that really expects amazing things to happen for you. And by the way, let me go into more detail here. This little drawing here is the brain. This is your brain on expectations. That's supposed to kind of be a joke, but probably didn't land very well. This is your brain, and based on the lens that you have, let's just call this your lens. Based on the lens that you wear, that you see the world through, because we all have our own lens in which through we look at the world. This, by the way, is the world. I wrote that terribly, but that's the world. I didn't know how to draw the continents and stuff, so I thought I'd leave them off, just draw a circle. And what we see, how we see the world, will reflect back to us a reality which all of us call our actual experience. Our experience comes from how we see the world and what the world reflects back to us. And as one of the greats in personal development, Earl Nightingale, has said in his book, Lead the Field, the world reflects back to us our expectations of the world. Or he says our attitude reflects back to us the same attitude from the world. So whatever your attitude is that you show up with is what you will get back from the world. This is a universal law, and if we don't understand this and embody it and embrace it, then we're not going to be able to leverage it. But if you choose to realize that expectation is a superpower, then you can use this truth to create better realities in your life. Now, if you're the kind of person that's skeptical, you're like, JJ, this sounds really woo-woo and like weird kind of stuff, that's okay, because I've got another way to show this to you. Because if you're the kind of person that expects great things to happen, what's the lens that you're going to look through to see the world? You're going to expect great things to happen. So here's a simple example. When you go to have a conversation with your boss or someone you lead or a client, if you expect that conversation to go really, really well, to be positive, for that person to receive it well, for you to communicate clearly, for you to just end the conversation both feeling great, how are you going to show up in that conversation? You're going to show up with a different energy, with a different attitude. You're going to communicate differently in that moment. But if you expect, because you're looking through a lens that expects things to not go well, and you're like, man, this person's going to be mad or angry or like, this is not going to go well, what's the attitude and energy you're going to show up with in that conversation? Not great. And if you don't show up with great attitude and expectation for how the conversation is going to go, how do you think it's going to go? Because the way you communicate matters more than the words you say. Have you ever heard someone say, it's not what you said, it's how you said it? Well, the how you said it part comes from your expectations, because your expectations drive your attitude. Your expectations are the foundation of your attitude, and your attitude is what other people feel. So you must work on your expectations Because even if you don't believe the stuff of like, well, if I have great expectations and expect great things to happen, the great things will happen. Even if you don't see the world that way, which I completely do, but if you don't, that's okay. At least I know you can agree with me on the fact that whatever you expect to happen in a situation will drive how you show up in that situation. And how you show up in that situation is like 80 to 90% or more of how that situation will actually end up.